Welcome, everyone, to the Great Womb Awakening 2, where women across the globe are deepening their understanding of the most powerful shamanic tool on the planet, the female body. I'm your host, Kathy Forrest, founder of Celestial Forest Institute, and I'm so excited to be here with my friend, Kaylin Castell. Welcome, Kaylin.
Oh, Kathy, I love you so much, and I love being here, and I love what we're just about to do.
Yes, and I think everyone else loves it too, but I need to give you a proper introduction. Kaylin Castell is the co-founder of Venus Alchemy, My Star Alchemy, and the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. In addition to writing monthly celestial timings for 25 years, she enjoys sharing these mysteries through personal readings and teaching both online and in-person events, changing lives and perspectives from the visionary understanding that we inform the mysteries as much as they inform us. That still gives me chills every time I say it. So, Kaylin, I am going to go ahead and make you the host so that you can share slides.
Thank you. And I just want to say, because some of the mysteries we're going to talk about is time, and we're informing time, and time is informing us. So
Yes.
that's just such a perfect statement to lead us into this, right? So, okay, I guess I need to make this start from the beginning. Here we go. So when we did this cosmic womb thing a couple years ago, I talked a lot about the great cosmic womb, and we're going to do that again a little bit, just because you can never hear it enough.
Right.
It took me lots of times of hearing about it before I finally actually got it at a deeper level. We're going to talk about the magical mysteries of time, time beyond time, womb time, sacred time versus secular time. So if you have anything you want to say at any point along the way, just feel free to jump in.
Okay.
But I thought what I'd do is I'd start with an invocation. And this is something that's inspired by the charge of the goddess, and also the charge of the crone that was inspired by the charge of the goddess. And so the cosmic womb, divine mother goddess activation thing, whatever it is you want to call it. So I'll just invite everyone to just in whatever way helps you to be as present as possible for this invocation, because it's going to set up the energy for what we're going to talk about. If you want to put your hand on your womb, if you want to allow yourself a deep belly breath, just to bring yourself into the present space. And here we go. I am the ancient divine mother, the cosmic womb at the center of the universe, giving birth to all that exists. I am the queen of magic. I am the dark of the moon, hidden in the deepest night. I am the mystery of birth, life, death, and rebirth, loving and guiding you on your journey. I am the soul of nature, giving form to the universe. Most ancient are my mysteries. Therefore, let there be beauty in your strength, compassion in your wrath, power in your humility, and mastery balanced with mirth and reverence. For behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my greatest magic. You who seek to know me, know and remember my mysteries reside within you. If you seek outside yourself, my mysteries will elude you, for they are within you and nowhere else. Know I have been with you from the beginning, the comforting hand that nurtured you during the dawn of life, and the loving embrace that awaits you at the end of each life. For I am all that is attained at the end of the spiral dance. I am the womb of all new beginnings, as yet unimagined and unknown. Blessed be. So yeah, that felt like it was like, whew, this definitely sets us up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And since we're talking about the womb, and the female body and all of that, I thought I would just look at the womb of all possibilities, and how the cosmic womb of creation, and also our literal embodied womb. And this is, some women don't have a womb, maybe they, for whatever reason, some of us, our wombs aren't working in the way they once did, past the childbearing ages and all of that. But it's still the place of infinite intelligence and creativity a space for creation of all possibilities. So we want to tune into it from that space. And when we look at the great cosmic womb that we'll be doing in a moment, we'll see that, you know, this whole entire galaxy that we live in is birthed from that great womb. So the feminine womb of creation naturally releases, clears, and cleanses anything in the way of our being powerful creators. And, you know, we could say that we know that from the monthly menstrual cycle, but then there's those of us who've gone past that cycle. So we want to just keep in mind that it's useful to keep cleansing, clearing, and releasing anything that might be in the way of us being powerful creators. Okay. And symbolically, men and women both have access to the womb of creation through intention and attention to the creative force within. So what needs to be cleared and cleansed from your creative womb so you recognize what is yours to create? Great question to be with. And, you know, everyone has something that they came to help be a co-creator with. And it doesn't have to be on the level of, you know, super famous and well-known and having a big platform or any of that. Sometimes it's just as powerful if it's within our family or within our community, that kind of thing. So, so I'm offering an intention that I like, and that this can be an inspiration for people to, as they, you know, connect with this, the entire summit, all the things that everybody has to say, becoming more conscious of their own creative womb experience, and keeping it in the present as if it's already happened. I am lovingly co-creating the new earth within me in ways that are joyful, magical, and fun. If you want to use it, great. If you want to rewrite it or write something that sings to you, also really great. Yeah, so anything that you're inspired by around any of this yet so far? Go ahead.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So, so one of my favorite topics since I was a kid, and I don't know if I've shared this before here in this arena before, but when I was in first grade, I came home from school very upset, having realized that everything that had just happened that day was now history. I was like, what's the point if everything instantly becomes history? Like, my mother didn't really quite know how to answer that. So I've been interested in the mysteries of time for a long time, and it finds that, you know, in the Bible, John 12:37-50, one of the statements is timing is everything. And from an astrological perspective,
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you moving the slides on your end?
Yes, I am.
We can't see that here.
Oh, okay. Let me stop my share and start over again.
Okay.
I've had this happen to me one time before, and I don't understand why, but let me just see. So
yeah, there it is.
Okay, let me just go back, because here's where I talked about the room of all possibilities.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to go back, and here's the invocation. And so maybe the good news is that everybody will have access to these slides on my free gift page. Please. You don't have to give me your email to get it. Just go to the page and you can download this if you want. Perfect. Okay.
Okay. I had to ask earlier, and I was just like, I'm
so glad you can see it now.
No, she thinks it's moving. It's not. Okay, perfect.
Moving for me, it was moving for me. So I just assumed it was moving for everybody else. Anyway, awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk about sacred time and also secular time, or Chronos time and Kairos time. But first, I just wanted to kind of give a sense of how the ancient mystery schools taught about time. And they would say that when we activate our awareness around the cosmic time mysteries, we become even more magical, co-creative beings. So why wouldn't we want to do that?
Yeah.
And they, of course, weren't talking about secular time. They were talking about sacred time. So in the space of sacred time, a series of alchemical changes can open us up to physical and energetic transformation up-leveling our ability to co-create the new Earth reality. And awareness of the cosmic time cycles is one of the magical keys.
Mhm.
So, and literally, I was just listening to something from the Rosicrucians. I got inspired because my parents were both Rosicrucians, and I haven't really looked at any of that in a long time.
Right.
And so I was just reading one of the books, and they were talking about this very exact thing. And that's part of what inspired me. It's like, you know, how things show up in your reality to like say, oh, this is what you need to talk about.
Right.
Like the magic was already happening. And they also talked about how divine energy becomes even more present in the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies of those embodying these mysteries of time. So timely and inspirational connection expands the aura and physical body so it can receive and transmit more light energy. Oh, like,
Wow.
why would you want to do that, right? This leads to a profound awakening in timeless experiences as relevant and life-altering today as it was in the sacred temples of ancient cultures.
Wow.
So when experiencing this kind of heightened awareness and enlightenment, everything changes on every level. So, you know, like sometimes we could say, some people say, well, time isn't even real. It's just something we've made up in this reality. But why do we have time? We need time to have the experience we're having. So we want to honor it as this mystical, magical experience that we can have when we recognize it as such. So there is linear time, also called chronos time or chronological time or sequential time. And we tend to tune into that through clocks and calendars.
Right.
Now, this is not bad. It's not better or worse. It's just part of the reality that we live in. And you and I got to connect today at a specific time, even though we're in different places on the planet in a different time zone. But because we know the date on the calendar and the time, we were able to connect. So the linear time can have its value. So we're not wanting to diss that or say that it's not valuable. The problem is that we've lost our connection to sacred time, or kairos time is what the Greeks called it. And that really is more of a cyclical spiral, a connection to time, looking at the seasons and the moon phases. And their definition was that kairos time is the most opportune or supreme sacred moment when eternity or time out of time occurs for an undetermined duration, when something uniquely magical and special happens. So it's like when we can tune into sacred time, we can create magic in ways that wouldn't happen in perhaps ordinary time.
Wow.
And it's happened to me so often. I have so many stories around that. I won't say them right now, but I just want to say it's so real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know you know. I know you know. Yeah, I know you. In fact, I think we've even had some of those experiences together. Right. So this is just kind of looking at kairos time and linear time sort of side by side. And chronos time is like, you know, past, present, and future on a straight line. It's like we go from wherever we are, we're always in the present moment, but we could look back to the past and we sometimes look forward to the future. And it tends to be about becoming rather than being, whereas kairos time is like in that place of being. And you know, coming back, circling back around into, you know, the sacred space rather than you know, and connected more to the cosmos and that kind of thing. So and I love having them here side by side because they're both important. But what's happened, and just again to say, what's happened is we've tended to, as a culture, to lose the connection to sacred time or kairos time.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to get back. And that's one of the things I love about the astrological mysteries, because it helps us reconnect. Like, what time is it for us anyway?
Right.
Yeah. So now I'm just going to speak a little bit about the Great Galactic Womb. And I did this before, but you can't hear this enough. Just saying.
Yeah.
right? So when we look out into the sky and we see the Milky Way band, we'll see a dark rift, or a great rift, as it's also called, which is the center of our galaxy.
Mm.
And it's really like the spiraling black hole, dark abyss. And all galaxies have a black hole at the center. It's like the galactic womb of each galaxy. So we have one in the galaxy we exist in. And these are sending out particles and matter, light particles and matter, and they're also taking in, so that the black hole like pulls in. And when I think about this, it's like, okay, so when a woman is pregnant, has a baby in her, she's taking in particles, matter, nourishment, right? So that she can create the child that she's going to send out. So it's like that creative process we experience within ourselves is happening within our galaxy all the time.
Wow.
So good. So good. Yeah. Now, this is also just to kind of give people a sense of like, when you look out into the sky, this is the Milky Way band and the plane of the galaxy in that Milky Way band, with the dark rift here and the galactic center. And then this green line is the path of the planets.
Mhm.
And so all the planets kind of come along this path. They might be a little above or a little below, as we're going to see as we go along, but they're found in this area of the sky. And where this crosses is referred to as the galactic cross. And what's happening on the galactic cross now is super significant and way bigger than people talk about the age of Aquarius. Just like in the galactic year of 26,000 years, it's a month. 2,160 years. But when we're looking at the turning of an entire 26,000 year cycle, a whole new year's point, it's so much bigger. John Major Jenkins wrote a book called The Galactic Alignment, and the subtitle, The Transformation of Consciousness According to Mayan, Egyptian, and Vedic Traditions. And so he was looking at this alignment, and he went and looked at what different cultures had to say about it. And their relationship to the galactic center included imagery of the Black Madonna, Isis. There was, there's many other things, but those are just a couple of to kind of give the idea, representing the very womb of creation that gave birth to all the stars and planets in our galaxy. So here is Isis with her outstretched wings. And this was for the Egyptians symbolizing the Milky Way, the river of stars, the starry highway, whatever you want to call it. And so here's another, this is like looking at not the picture when I blew it up kind of got a little more grainy here, but this is galactic center and the Milky Way looking through, like it looks like a cave. And then here's Isis with her outstretched wings, just to kind of give us a sense of how they were seeing it, perceiving it, and connecting with it and honoring it through their art, their ceremony, their, that connection to understanding that this was a very important part of the sky. So what's happening right now with the sun being on the galactic cross at the December solstice when it reaches 0 degrees Capricorn, again, something that can only happen every 26,000 years. Right. 25,920 is the more precise number, but just round it up. The seasonal points move 1 degree every 72 years through all the constellations. So over time, every single seasonal point will be with every constellation. Yeah. And then it comes back to a starting point. And so if we consider this to be the starting point, this is why we know we're at the turning of a great 26,000 year. Plato called it the great year. And if we look at it from 1 degree as it entered 1 degree and then as it leaves 1 degree, that would be 144 year window from 1926 to 2070, as calculated by an astronomer named Jean Muse, who saw that the center point was in 1998. So you put 72 years on either side of that, and then you get that window. If you only put 72 years or 36 years on either side of that for a 72 year window, it would be from 1962 to 2034. In any case, we're in it.
Yeah, right smack dab in the middle.
Right? And we've been at it for a while. So a lot of things are changing. It's like, like we're preparing for a whole new galactic cycle. And the reason this is so significant is because the galactic center is right here. It's the womb that it's like something new is birthing, a whole new 26,000 year cycle is birthing so amazing. So amazing. So that's the largest context of what's going on for us at this time, looking at the magical mysteries of time, right? So, okay, why is this not moving? There we go. So if we think about time, cyclical time, the seasons of time, they determine the actions for us to take. And this can even fit into the time of day. So if you think about, like, there's a certain time to prepare the ground, a certain time to plant and nourish the seeds, a certain time to harvest, a certain time to rest, regenerate, and renew. And we could say we could even look at, like in the day, we get up and we're preparing for the day, and then we do whatever it is that we do, and then we harvest the results of that in that day, and then we need to go and rest, regenerate, and renew.
Right.
Yeah. So working with time in that, with that understanding, is really helpful and really supportive. Okay. And then the other thing is when we're not aligned with the timing. So for example, trying to plant a garden in the winter probably won't get very good results.
Right.
We can do everything right. We can make it, we can prepare the ground, we can plant the seeds, we can do everything right, and it just may not happen.
Right. Yeah.
So timing is everything. Coming back to that part of it, right? Now, part of our challenge has been that we have been relying primarily on clock time, and that has created a loss of direct knowledge and experience of the natural cycles of the sun, the moon, the planets, and stars as a way to wisely navigate through life. And so part of, I think, so many people now are really becoming more aware, like, we need this connection to cyclical time. And that we could say there's probably more cycles of time that we could tune into. But if we look at the triquetra and the 3 cycles of time that it tends to represent, the 3 circles of time and how they intersect, we have personal cycles that can happen at any age. We have generational cycles that happen at specific ages. So for example, this for Saturn return around 829, the Pluto, sorry, not Pluto, Jupiter returns about every 11 and a half years to 12 years or so. So those are generational cycles based on age. And then there's collective cycles that affect the evolution and growth of life on planet Earth. And if we look back at 2020, when Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn were all together in the sign of Capricorn for the first time in 733 years.
Wow.
And we knew something was going to happen. We didn't know what. It's not like you can predict what's going to happen, but something major really did happen. And, it's like so much got changed as a result of that. And those changes are still ongoing. So that's like a example of a collective cycle that happens, along with the fact that we're at the turning of a 26,000 year cycle, another collective cycle that's happening. So some other collective cycles that happen are equinoxes and solstices, new moons and full moons. So the equinoxes and solstices are the seasons of the year. And then the new moons and the full moons happen every month. Month means month, or moon means month. Anyway, month is named after the moon. And our Gregorian calendar doesn't really honor the moon cycle in the exact correct way, but that's a whole other story. There's the sun rising and setting every day. That's a daily event, but we all experience that. And then there are other timely events that can happen, like eclipses happen usually every 6 months, and usually 2 happen. Sometimes a third one will happen. The 19-year lunar standstill is something we're going to talk about a little bit more in a moment. The synodic cycles of Venus, Mars, and Mercury. So every 8 years, Venus comes back. Mars is a little more unpredictable. It can be 15 to 17 years. Mercury is every 6 or 7 years. So certain ages, you'll have certain of those cycles happening. And then there are outer planet transits that will take place, like I already mentioned, the Saturn return, the Jupiter return, Uranus opposition, Neptune square. There's like certain ones that will happen at certain ages, and that will have, but also that will happen in terms of, like, this year we had Neptune and Jupiter together. And, so that has a specific effect in a collective way. But if you have something personal, you may also be personally affected by that. So knowing these things can be so helpful, because then we can make wiser choices in our navigation of these times. So looking at the moon cycle, and this image is only showing 28 phases of the moon, but literally it takes 29 and a half days for the moon to come back to any one phase. So from a new moon to a full moon, or a full moon to a new moon, or a quarter moon, or wherever you want to start that, like if you want to look at a crescent moon, it takes 29 and a half days for the moon to come back to that. And what's interesting about that is that many people believe there are 13 full moons a year. They're not. Because 29 and a half divided into 365, the closest whole number is 12. Yeah. And it's usually about every third year we'll have 13 full moons in a year. Because it's, more often it's going to be 12 than 13. So we could say 12 and 13 are sacred to the moon.
Right.
We don't want to dismiss 12, and we don't want to dismiss 13. They're both important. And then the dark of the moon, and that's something they're not really showing here. It's actually 2.5 days. So you add a day and a half to the 28, and then you get the 29 and a half days. And Jane Rajar wrote a book called The Lunation Cycle, and this quote just seems so relevant. The cyclic relationship of the moon to the sun produces the lunation cycle, and every moment of the month and day can be characterized significantly by its position within this lunation cycle. Yeah. So then the question is, where are you born? What moon phase are you born in? And that repeats every 29 and a half days. And that is literally, books have been written about this. There was a man named Dr. Jonas. He was in Czechoslovakia, I believe. He had a fertility clinic, and he was helping women to not get pregnant and to get pregnant based on their sun moon angle, based on the phase of the moon they were born into. And then that was happening in the 50s, and pharmaceuticals didn't want the competition for their birth control pills or for their fertility drugs. And so a lot of that information got shut down, but some of it survived and was put into books later. And so this is really fun information. So to know what time it is for you in the month, it's a powerful conception point, ceremonial point, intentional point when you're in the phase of the moon, when the moon phase is repeating itself. And every 19 years on the birthday, the sun and the moon come back to near the same sign and degree they were when you were born. So age 19, 38, 57, 76, and 95. Mm-hmm. Those are super high magic birthdays. if you're working with the sun moon phases. And I will tell you, I have done that, and I've had amazing magical things happen as a result. So it's definitely worth paying attention to those times. So I mentioned the 19 years, and we're looking at the 19-year lunar standstill. And this is going to connect into the cosmic womb as we look. But first, to give you kind of a little bit of a sense of it. So the sun rises due east and sets due west at the equinoxes. But from the northern hemisphere perspective, as we're coming up into the June solstice, that's summer for the northern hemisphere. It's winter for the southern hemisphere. But the sun goes furthest north, 23.5 degrees from the 0 point at the June solstice, and it goes furthest south at the 23.5 degrees at the December solstice. And again, opposite seasons, and depending on which hemisphere you're in. So this is considered the boundaries of the sun. And what can happen is planets, Venus, Mars, Mercury, other planets as well, can go outside the boundaries of the sun. And the moon will do that every 19 years. Well, it reaches its maximum extreme every 19 years, but it's already starting to go outside the boundaries of the sun. And in fact, while we're doing this recording, we just had the full moon, and it was outside the boundaries of the sun. And so we're going to see in a moment why that's interesting. But we could say for at least 2 years before and after, but really maybe more like 3 years before and after, because we're in that 3-year window. It starts to move to that greater extreme, and it can go as far as 28.5 degrees north or south of where the sun can go at that particular time. So it's called out of bounds outside the boundaries of ordinary reality, and it's a wild card. So,
Okay, that's what we
yeah,
need.
yeah. So in 2025 is when we're going to have the maximum lunar standstill time. And I just wanted to show everybody, like, here's the ecliptic. The sun is on this path and the moon is below, right in the galactic center, right going over the galactic womb. And it only does it during this time. It's already pretty close. It's like it's going to drop a little lower. I think it was probably more like right up here, but it was pretty close to being over the galactic womb in the last couple of days. And then here's another way to see this. This is closer to a new moon in December of 2025. And so the maximum point is going to be 2841 south, meaning when it's south of the ecliptic, that's when it has to be in the sign of either Sagittarius or Capricorn for it to be able to cross the galactic center, the galactic womb.
Wow.
So amazing. So from now until 2028, 2029, I think it will even still be doing it somewhat. The moon is going to cross the galactic womb. The moon is a transmitter. It transmits from whatever part of the sky it's in, it's transmitting those mysteries. So now we have an opportunity to have a transmission from the galactic womb every month. Oh, when the moon is in the sign of Sagittarius and Capricorn, it's going to be crossing that point. It's like just so mind-blowing. So we want to be able to take advantage of this because we're co-creating. We know what time it is. So anyway, one of the things I did was, here's the dates for 2022 when the moon is going to be outside the boundaries and crossing. It's actually on June 29th, it's going to be almost 27 degrees, which is getting close to that 28.5 degree mark. And so these are all the different dates, and people can mark it on your calendar. It won't necessarily be a full moon like we just had. It will be a different phase of the moon, but still it's going to be a powerful time. And just to add to that is to say that they've done studies that when galactic center is overhead, psychic abilities increase. So when the moon is crossing over galactic center, I'm betting psychic abilities and our ability to tune in and to get transmissions and downloads increases. So here you can see, here's the moon rising over it looks like Stonehenge here. And these are certain things that can happen during the lunar standstill. So let's see. And then this is 2025. I gave all the dates here, and I will put on my website eventually all the dates for 2024 and so on. I think I might have be close to having that done. But what happens is, like in places like Callanish, the Isle of Lewis in Scotland, the moon rises up and it's said to walk the land. It doesn't rise up above the horizon. It rises and just rolls along the horizon. And so they have a saying that says, when the moon walks the land at the calling of the cuckoo, the shining ones will return. This only happens at the lunar standstill. And there were, they think that there were collective gatherings of people at these stone circles every 19 years to honor the 19-year lunar standstill. So they knew the magic and the mystery of this timing. So we want to be able to take advantage of that too, because it's like, it's just, it's attention and intention and alignment with that. So, okay. So now then I did a whole video that's going to be on my free offer page on the lunar standstill. So I'm not going into all the details, but just to kind of give you a sense, this is, when the moon walks the land in Callanish or in Scotland, it's when the moon is in Sagittarius and Capricorn. When the moon rises between the chimneys at Chimney Rock in Colorado, the moon is in Cancer or Gemini or Cancer, and it only rises up between these chimneys about every 19 years. And this was something that the archaeoastronomer Kim Malville started to recognize, and they couldn't understand why these people were building kivas every 19 years. And if you think about a kiva, it's like a womb in the earth.
Right.
right? So here we are with the womb magic, and it's like they were so tuned in. It's like, oh, okay, and they would, they would watch for the moon to rise up between. Now I don't know, these aren't probably kivas along here, but just the whole idea that that's what they were doing, and he figured it out because nobody thought they were smart enough to know that every 19 years the sun never rises between those chimneys ever, because it's not far enough outside the boundaries of the sun.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
only with the lunar standstill. And there's just so many other pieces like that. And of course, I go into more details around that in my video. So I just wanted to share, as we, kind of a way to complete this. It's like time and prophecy and how we're creating our future. And so we can become the prophets of our future when we are tuning into the timing. And as James Allen says, dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. So when we're focusing on it, whatever we expect with our confidence becomes our own self-fulfilling prophecy. Brian Tracy said that. And persistent prophecy is a familiar way of assuring the event.
Right.
Thank you, George. And the best way to predict the future is to create it, Peter Drucker. So I just want to leave us with this thought, and that one of the things that happens when the moon is in its outer standstill time, meaning, that it's at its most extreme every 19 years, it will occult certain stars. And one of the stars that occults is a star called Purima, who is in the constellation of the Virgin Priestess, also known as Virgo, but we don't call it Virgo because it's in the sign of Libra, seasonal sign of Libra, and that gets people confused. So we call it the Virgin Priestess. So the high priestess, or the virgin meaning no sex, virgin meaning whole and complete unto herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every month, starting in January of 2022 till June of 2026, 20 times, the moon is occulting the star Purima, the star of prophecy. And I did create the dates for people to know. The next time will be July 6th. Sometimes it won't be visible because if it's happening in the middle of the day, you're not going to see the star.
Right. Right.
And the moon will be in different phases each time, and it might not. But if we know that it's happening, what happens in an occultation is similar to an eclipse, and that is that it's accelerating and magnifying and amplifying our intentions. Yeah. And if we're working with prophecy, how we're becoming our own prophets, how are we prophesizing and what we are creating as we're going into this new 26,000 year cycle, then working with these dates and doing ceremony around these dates for what it is we want to create and what we want to prophesize in our own life.
Yeah.
How powerful is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. I think, I keep losing the little arrow thing. So the final thing I just wanted to share here was that you'll see it when you believe it, Wayne Dyer said that. So it's like if we can believe it, if we're doing the ceremony, and even if we don't believe it, we keep doing the ceremony and the intention, and we keep showing up and keep asking, the universe will deliver it to us. Yes. And it will help to increase our belief. So the reason I put this winged unicorn, there's a woman riding on this unicorn, and it's hard to see because there's a grail cup over her here. But back in 1995, I was doing a breath work experience while I was doing my priestess initiation. And I had quite the journey, but at the very end, I saw myself riding on a winged unicorn towards a golden spiral light in the night, but towards a golden spiral light. And I was just like, what? and there's a part of me that's kind of like, well, that just seems like something I made up out of my fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. The next day or 2 days later, I was in a bookstore and I saw this card. And not only was it like, I saw this card, it was the only card like it. There was no other card like it. There was no price marked on it. It was just like this card had just appeared out of nowhere.
Right?
So like kind of say, you know what, that vision you had, and that experience you had in your breathwork thing was real. And I went to the woman at the cash register and I said, how much is this card? And she went and looked and she couldn't find anything. She goes, how about $1? I said,
Wow.
sold. And I got the card. So this is about believing, and this is about noticing the signs, and we're informing the mysteries. They're informing us. And when we are open to the signs in the world of form, the signs that help us to be able to believe what it is we're co-creating and what we're prophesizing for ourselves as we are co-creating with this 26,000 year cycle, with this 19-year lunar standstill, with the occultations of the moon over the star of prophecy, that sort of thing, then this is high magic. And
Yeah.
this is an opportunity that we have to create now, working with the timing. Timing is everything. Working, and the timing is just so perfect for us. So I love that you're doing the whole cosmic womb thing as the moon is already now crossing the galactic womb of our galaxy. So
Wow. Kaylin, I can't even tell you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And just for all of you watching, stick with me because I don't plan any of this. This has been my life forever. I would never look and go, oh, I think that's happening, so I'm going to do my summit there. No, I did a summit right in the middle of Mercury retrograde, right in the middle of everything, but yet it was perfect timing once again. So,
yeah.
oh my goodness, this is just perfect for us to launch our summit and know the timings. I just,
I
thank you.
know. I just want to say, I didn't even know when you said cosmic womb 2.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, I've already talked about the cosmic womb. What am I going to talk about? And I had to play with it for a while. And then I was
Right.
like, wait a second, the whole lunar standstill is so perfect. It took me a little while to just sit back and allow it to come to me, because I wasn't thinking about that at first.
Right. And you know, we lead with we're living in a time of prophecy. Oh my goodness. Yes, we are. Are we ever? So thank you. Thank you. And I have to just thank you for you and for all you do, all you bring to the planet, all you give to all of us all the time. I never, ever have to worry. I can always know that you're going to say yes when I ask you. And what you bring is just a wealth of information. And we all just gobble it up. So thank you. Thank you. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. I we need to spread the information and then connect to it through the power of love, and so that we can powerfully create the new world we really want and not something that we don't want.
Right. Absolutely.
So the more of us that join together to do that, the better. And I just get really excited to be able to share this. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.